Doyle, I said before, this is my Barbara Walters moment, so I'm a little nervous too. It's hard to get started with a career that's lasted 50 years. Two-time world champion, 1977, 1976, 10-time bracelet winner. You're only one behind Phil Hellmuth. It looked like Phil was going to get his 12th, which would have made me change his presentation to 12 ways for a better no limit hold'em. But you've done everything in the game, and yet you've been able to stay on top for more than 50 years. What's the key in your mind to staying at the top of the game for that long?
Well, I think you got to just be pretty lucky to have good genes, and I've come from a long line of livers on my mother's side, especially. Most of them live to be in their 90s, and some of them into their hundreds. And I've always tried to stay mentally alert, and I love to play, so I never stopped playing. And I just think I'm, exceedingly fortunate.
Yeah, well, I mean, longevity is one thing, but I think everyone's interested in what it takes as a poker player to keep sharp as the game has changed. We've seen tremendous changes in the game as it's become more popular, and televised poker has really hit. The first year that you played in the World Series of Poker, how many players played?
6.
6. 6. Okay. And this year, there'll be more than 6,000, pretty clear. And, but the point is you've seen the game change tremendously over the years, and yet you're still an extremely formidable opponent, one of the best in the game. How have you been able to keep up and stay with the game as it's progressed and players have gotten better?
Well, I've always been a person that played the person that I was against more than the new wave of poker, where they got everything figured out mathematically and the proper procedure. I kind of try to get inside my opponent's head and think what he's thinking, and it's been working for me, so I'm not going to change.
Yeah, it's been working for you. Over $6 million in career tournament winnings, including, like I said, those 10 bracelets, but also a World Poker Tour championship you won a few years back. How important was that WPT win to you in the whole scheme of everything you've done in poker?
Well, it was important, I think, because at that time it was the largest field that was ever assembled in a poker tournament. And, I'd received a lot of heat because in the early World Series of Poker, the fields weren't that big. But we weren't really concentrating on trying to win bracelets. We were just trying to bring people out for the cash games. And so...
So it was a little bait and switch. Get them in for the bracelets and then fleece them after?
Well, that's exactly what it was. And, I only played 2 events a year for a number of years. Instead of, I see some of these guys playing... 40 or 50 events in these things, and I don't know how they do it. 2 people come to mind, is Daniel Negreanu and Barry Greenstein.
Right.
And every time I look up, they're in the tournament.
Sometimes 2 or 3 at the same time.
2 or 3 at the same time. And I don't know if it's my age or my mentality, but I just don't think I could do that. I mean, I love to play the cash games, and I've only entered 2 this year. At the World Series here. I plan on playing the rest of the $10,000 events. Okay,
very good. You mentioned that in the first year of the World Series, there were only 6 people. Now, people may not know, there actually wasn't a tournament that year. It was just 3 or 4 days of play, and then you guys elected who they thought was the best overall player. And the winner of that competition or that election was?
Johnny Moss.
Johnny Moss. Johnny Moss was elected the first world champion of poker. Who would be elected today? If the same procedure were in place, who do you think would be elected as the world champion?
Well, I think the consensus probably is Phil Ivey. I haven't played that much with Phil, and the few times I have played with him, I've never seen him loser. So I don't know how he reacts when he gets loser, because he never gets loser. But I think he's probably the consensus pick right now, I would say.
If Chip Reese were alive today, would Chip replace Phil as your pick?
As the all-around poker player, Chip Reese was the best I've ever seen.
Very devastating news. The legend of the poker game, that is Doyle Brunson, widely regarded as the godfather of poker, has reportedly died. That was in Las Vegas, and he was just 89 years old. Nicknamed the Texas Dolly, Brunson won close to 10 World Series of the poker tournaments, including I remember the main event that was in around 1976 to 1977. In his book Super System, it has influenced a generation of so many poker players, and he was, by the way, even inducted into the Poker Hall of Fame. That was in 1988. Brunson's agent, that is Brian Balsboff, has come out to post a statement on Twitter and other social media platforms from the Brunson's family, saying that it's really very heartbreaking. Although in this exact moment in time, no cause of death has been released. It's really tough losing such a huge legend within the poker game. So in a statement, which I can see through social media here, they say, "It's with heavy heart we announce the passing on of our father, that is Doyle Brunson. He was a beloved Christian man, a very good husband, a father, and a grandfather, and we'll have more to say over the coming days as we honor his legacy. Please keep Doyle and our family in your prayers. May he rest in eternal peace." So that was the statement that was released by the family. To be specific, the agent on behalf of the family, as he detailed in his memoir. I remember in one of those ratings, the godfather said he saw poker actually grow from being an illegal game that was in Texas back in the day, with players often shunned by society, to nationally being actually televised on so many televisions, including Doyle, into becoming celebrities. So back in the day, players of the poker game were actually being criticized. So many thought that was a game that was played by those guys who were losers. But by the time Doyle left this world, the poker game had become really immense and huge. Not only in the US but in the entire world. If you can look through social media, to be specific, on YouTube, Rambo, and so many other platforms, you can tell that really the poker game is really very very huge. So he won the Texas Class 2A state championship. That was in the mile. In 1950, and he was named the 2A state basketball all-time legend, and of course part of that team. So Brunson attended Hardin Simmons University in Abilene, Texas, and helped the basketball team to reach the NCAA tournament. That was in 1953. So in his early years, he was really a very talented basketball player. But of course, he transitioned and went into poker game, a game that was back in the day regarded as something which was not so cool, something which was illegal back in the day. But of course, we can tell now it's really very profitable. It's a game like any other games, so we have to credit that legend. We saw the son, that is Todd, also coming out on Twitter to also pay and confirm the news that his father had passed on. In this moment in time, all we can say is continue resting in power the king of poker, that is Doyle Brunson. Rest in power, King, and we're sending you prayers and your family, because we all know they're going through a very